Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the OR News broadcast. I'm Daniel Cook, your host for the English edition, weekdays at 6 p.m. In today's news, the President of the European Commission is visiting Tirana. His mandate is about to finish, and this will be his last official visit. In his speech in Tirana, José Barroso said that the candidate status recognizes the commitment and actions demonstrated by the government in the recent months to pursue the process of European-related reforms in the fight against corruption and organized crime and judicial reform, as well as the substantial work achieved by Albania over the past years. He made this speech: "Once again, I want to thank you, Prime Minister, because you are highlighting, and rightly so, that it is a national task. Of course, in democracy, political parties are very important. But I believe this task of European integration and the historic dimension that it has here in Albania should be seen as a consensus. So even beyond the political parties that can give, of course, their proper contribution to this modernization process. Today, I had a very fruitful meeting with the Prime Minister Rama. We shared the joy of Albania having achieved a further step on its European path, and we discussed the next steps that are important to the process and the challenges that lie ahead for Albania. I am confident that entering this new chapter will provide an additional incentive to Albania to tackle these challenges with vigor and determination. I have stressed to Prime Minister Rama that to move further on its European integration path, Albania will need to continue and intensify a systematic approach to the reforms. Albania should focus on the key priorities that have been identified, with particular attention to the rule of law, the fight against corruption and organized crime, and the reform of the judiciary. I am glad to see that the government shares these priorities. To succeed, European integration needs to be an inclusive process in which the entire Albanian society plays a part. I know that the overwhelming majority of Albanian citizens see their future in the European Union. Therefore, I encourage both government and opposition to build on the positive spirit of the candidate status and to cooperate constructively to deliver the results that their country expects and their people deserve. Albania's future lies within the European Union. I really believe that is going to happen. The question is, how can you achieve all the results needed for that to materialize? There should be no doubt about that, and last Friday's decision proves this. It's a matter of credibility and coherence, and you can count on the European Commission to continue supporting Albania in its efforts to achieve that historic goal. You can also count on the European Union's support for your efforts and everything you are doing for the stability of the region. We very much welcome your initiatives, Prime Minister. For instance, the fact that we have now decided to meet with the Prime Minister of Serbia. Prime Minister Rama, in his speech, stated that the status of candidate country is not a trophy, but that it carries great responsibilities. He said that we have arrived here due to a great job that has been done not only in the last 9 months. He said, "Granting this status would not be possible without the outstanding work and the results of our government in these 9 months. But on the other hand, it is a process which the contribution and work over the years have been necessary," said the Prime Minister. Rama continued, "I assure the President about the determination of undertaking the reforms, which were delayed year after year. The administrative territorial reform is a new and solid basis to continue the process of integration." Regarding the relations of the majority and opposition, Rama said, "Less than a year ago, we were in opposition, and we will stand to what we said. The opposition in our government will not suffer what we suffered when we were in opposition yesterday. We will not make the same mistakes of the previous majority. We have been and we will be comprehensive in recognizing the merits of all. We are open to discussion, but we are the ones chosen to lead the country." In his speech in the Assembly, the President of the EC, José Manuel Barroso, declared that our country has made important progress. He said, "Albania's journey over the past years has been remarkable, under difficult circumstances. You have made clear progress on your European path. It is a particular honor to address you only a few days after the EU Council's landmark decision to grant Albania the status of candidate country for accession to the European Union, a decision that the EU Commission, which I lead, had proposed and argued for. I am very pleased that I can share this great moment with you. This decision turns an important page in Albania's history and will certainly initiate a promising new phase. We expect that it will give additional motivation to Albania's reform agenda and to further progress on your European path. This decision also shows that the European perspective of the countries of Southeastern Europe is not just an exercise on paper. It is real. The EU's commitment to this perspective remains firm. EU enlargement remains high on the agenda, and we stick to our promises when our partners make progress. The President of Albania has given a highly honorable award to the President of the European Commission, whose mandate is nearing its end. The President of the European Commission, Jose Manuel Barroso, is being honored today with the award, the National Flag. During the meeting with the President of the Republic of Albania, Bujar Nishani, in the premises of the presidency, the President awarded Barroso with the decoration. "I'm excited. Thank you for this great honor," said Barroso. "This honor is not just for the 10 years of my work," said the EC President Barroso at the ceremony. Barroso spoke about the attitude of the European Council, under which there is fair negotiation. "I am proud of the position of the European Union," he said. "We see Albania as a member of the EU." The President, Bujar Nishani, stressed that the award given to Barroso is a sign of gratitude and support. "Integration is the product of the work of all governments," said Nishani during his speech. The opposition leader, Lulzim Basha, has attended the assembly elections in the town of Kurbin. It is the duty of the young leaders of the Democratic Party to draft the alternatives of development and to restore confidence to the Albanian citizens. So stated the chairman of the Democratic Party, Lulzim Basha, in the Electoral Assembly of Kurbin. Basha emphasized that the challenge and the main purpose of the elections, which are held throughout the pyramid of the Democratic Party, have been and are to choose the best leaders through the free vote. He said this in his speech. The leaders must ensure readiness, besides determination and commitment to embrace our alternative, our unity, and the reunification of all historical contributions, the renewal of the party, the strong and determined opposition, the opposition with facts. The Albanian citizens know that we are the party that will have the will, confidence, energy, and capacity to restore hope, to restore confidence, and to once again lead the country toward achieving and fulfilling its nationwide aspirations for dignity, for prosperity, for security and integration, said Basha. The Democratic leader emphasized that all Democrats are equal shareholders in this great political enterprise. Nobody can dictate the choices of the Democrats, said Basha. A conference has been held in order to weigh the possibilities of improving Albania's electoral code. In a conference with the theme, The Electoral Code, Possibilities for Improvement, the head of the OSCE presence in Albania, Florian Raunig, said that it's time for the Albanian electoral code to change. According to him, it needs some amendments. He made this statement: the OSCE ODIHR noted in its report of 2013 that the legal framework generally provides a sound basis for democratic elections, although some important aspects of the law need further improvements. Proper implementation of existing laws from all stakeholders remains of paramount importance to improve the electoral process. The Central Election Commission, or CEC, has produced a set of concrete proposals. based on its experience with the elections of 2013 and discussions held with stakeholders in the field of elections. The CEC will send these proposals to the Assembly in order to consider them for the future electoral reforms, along with the recommendations of the OSCE ODIHR. The OSCE presence congratulates the CEC for its proactive approach. With the approach of the next local elections in the middle of 2015, now is precisely the time that the Albanian authorities should draw up a roadmap for the implementation of the recommendations of the OSCE. In this context, I once again welcome the statement of last year by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, expressing the readiness of Albania to fully implement the recommendations of the OSCE ODIHR. I hope that today's conference marks the launch of this very important process, said the ambassador. According to the ambassador, the elections are a very important process, and their responsibility falls on the main political parties. He further urged the Albanian parliament to take action to fill the vacancies in the CEC so that this institution can function normally. Furthermore, the ambassador appealed for an end to the practices that violate the freedom of vote. Political parties need to find the appropriate mechanisms to end any practice that violates the freedom of voting and electoral processes in Albania, he said. The presence of the OSCE will continue to support Albania in its efforts to provide to the Albanian citizens elections that fully meet the international standards and their European aspirations, added Raunik. The Albanian policy should focus on the quality and not on the election standards and the consensus between political forces. This is according to Ilirian Celebashi, the Minister for Relations with the Parliament, who is present at this conference. Celebashi said, "At this meeting, there will be open discussion held, which will tend to create standards for electoral processes. Mostly, the Albanian politics have been concerned with the impact of internationals, having been interested in terms of election administration, and not in the standards that the legal code requires. I think it is time that the Albanian politicians focus on quality and standards, and not on the consensus between political forces. The role of the opposition is an important factor in the electoral process. What is important is that this government is following with attention all the factors and the arguments of fulfilling OSCE ODIHR recommendations. This is an issue that should be supported by the political spectrum, but also by the Albanian government. We will continue to discuss other recommendations of the ODIHR, and in the beginning of next session, we will continue the collaborations with the opposition," said Celebashi. The investigation continues into the murder of Artan Santo, but so far, no solid leads exist. 4 days have passed since the killing of the banker Artan Santo, and the investigation team does not yet have any concrete leads on which to base its investigation. A prosecutor of the task force unit of Tirana will investigate the actions and movements of the bank and the large transfers of money made recently by the bank. The prosecution will also investigate the economic and financial conflicts of Artan Santo with Albanian businesses and also with any foreign businesses, since the bank operates abroad as well. Another possibility that the prosecution is intensively investigating is that of a construction in Pristina that Santo was involved with. The investigation group clarified that some people in Albania and abroad have been placed under surveillance, and the prosecution hopes to obtain valuable information for the investigation. The prosecution has prepared a list of people who are going to be questioned in the following days. Besides numerous possibilities raised by the prosecution of Tirana, it is hoped that the citizens can provide some help. The investigation group urged the citizens to contact the authorities if they have any information that may help in this matter. However, the task is very difficult because the authors of the crime have left little or no trace behind. It has been ruled that the two cousins who were arrested on the day of the murder will be kept in prison at this time. The court of Tirana has decided to leave the cousins, Gazmir and Claudian Josi, in prison for 15 days. Claudian and Gazmir Josi were stopped by the police on the day of the assassination of the businessman Artan Santo. Initially, the two cousins were detained, suspected of having links to the motorcycle used by the killers. But the official charge against them is illegal possession of arms. After the search of their apartment, police found cartridges of different calibers. The expertise will determine the kind of weapons that these cartridges belong to. After the judge's decision, the hearing session for the two cousins took place behind closed doors. The murder of the businessman Artan Santo occurred on the 26th of June at 9:30 a.m. in the heart of the capital, in the area of the former block. The businessman Santo, who was the co-owner of the media focus group, of the Credence Bank, and of TV Scan, was shot dead by two men near the headquarters of the Credence Bank as he was entering the building. The Orthodox Church in Durrës is unhappy that the bust of an important bishop was installed in Elbasan rather than in Durrës. After the placement of a bust of Fan Noli in Elbasan and after the declaration of rejection from Durrës, the Orthodox Church in Durrës has responded with a public statement. It declared that the association, Albanian National Nest, broke the terms of the talks with the official church, and that the situation that has been created is not a worthy one. Yesterday's actions do not honor his work for the country or for the church, but on the contrary, they were offensive. We want the bust of Bishop Fan Noli to be in Durrës because it belongs there. To realize this, we will seek the cooperation of the local authorities of the city, said Father Spiro Costoli. There has not been any formal request in the municipality of Durrës for the placement of Noli's bust in Durrës, but about 2.5 years ago, a request was sent to this municipality to name the road near the church Fan Noli. The church is where Bishop Noli held his first Mass in Albania on March 10th of 1914. The committee and the city council at that time, responsible for naming the streets, decided to name it Spiro Putezi. After this statement, the association National Nest reacted by explaining the official request sent on the 18th of June to place the bust in the Church of Durrës. They said, if they want to give a positive answer that the bust will be placed in the yard of the church, we will undertake to finance and build an even bigger bust. The Orthodox Church in Durrës cannot manipulate the public opinion with hypocrisy. Let them tell us that they accept the metropolitan bust, and we will finance it, build it, and send it to the Church of Durrës as soon as possible. The latest report from Instat shows that Albania's trade balance has decreased during the month of May. According to the latest data from Instat, the trade deficit for the month of May 2014 has increased by 4.5% compared to the same period a year ago. From the data, it is observed that the import of goods for this month went up to 48 billion lek, while exports reached the value of 25 billion lek. The latest report of Instat reveals that this month's trade deficit is 23 million lek, marking an increase of 4.5% compared to May of 2013 and 6.2% compared to April of 2014. During May, it is noted that the subgroup that has caused negative effects on the trade balance is the subgroup Minerals, Fuels, and Electricity, which decreased by 12.6%. This fact was confirmed a few days ago by the Governor Fulani, who said that our country's trade deficit has increased notably by increasing the imports of electricity and reducing our exports. Meanwhile, the largest annual increase of exports has been in the following groups: construction materials and metals, with 58.7%, textiles and shoes with 24%, and chemicals and plastic products with 19.6%. In May of 2014, the imports of goods amounted to 48 billion lek, increasing by 6.7% compared to May of 2013, and by 8.7% compared to April of 2014. The largest annual increase of imports was in these groups: leather and its articles with 31.8%, machinery and equipment with 15.7%, and construction materials and metals with 14.8%. Albania's trade exchanges are made primarily with EU countries like Italy and Greece, but recently, more and more of our country's trade exchanges are taking place with China and Turkey. The opposition parties in Kosovo are continuing their talks about the formation of a new government. The opposition parties, which have signed the joint government agreement, are sure that they have the necessary votes to create the new government. Today, the three opposition leaders, Isa Mustafa, Ramush Haradinaj, and Fatmir Limaj, will assure this if they agree with the conditions imposed by the Self-Determination Party of Albin Kurti. The Self-Determination Organizational Secretary, Artan Maulicaj, has said that Monday's meeting may produce concrete outcomes. He said that his political party will vote for any prime minister nominee if he accepts the conditions imposed by self-determination. We are harmonizing our ideas, he said, and I believe that on Monday we will see the first and perhaps the final outcome as to which points we have agreed on and which ones need discussion. So I believe that we will have a meeting which will offer concrete results. He continued, "We don't vote for people, but for policies. If we agree on the issue of dialogue, privatization, and other issues, we will vote for any candidate who has been nominated by these three political subjects, and we cannot intervene on this part." Maulicaj said that it's the membership of self-determination which will decide if this political subject will enter the government, and this is done through an internal referendum. We will continue the third stage of discussions, he said, in order to decide the plan of the government to fight crime and corruption and to develop the economy. If we can agree to advance with our positioning, then the membership of self-determination will decide as to whether we will be a part of the government or not, said Maulicaj. Worried about the situation in the country as a result of the political rivalry and the possibility of the destabilization of Kosovo, IBNA has learned that Western diplomats in Brussels are preparing a scenario for a technical government. This government will have a clear European agenda. It will finalize the electoral reform, and it will start and finalize constitutional amendments, especially in two crucial points: the election of the president and the government. All these priorities, which are mentioned in the Memorandum of International Diplomats, must be fulfilled once Kosovo forms a politically sustainable government in the period to come. One of the scenarios preferred by foreign diplomats is that of the formation of a government, which will include all the parliamentary groups in Kosovo. Based on this scenario, the political parties will appoint experts and not necessarily political figures in state posts. This supposed technical government is expected to lead the government for the next 2 years, until March of 2016. This has been the Ora News English edition. Thank you for watching. Please join us again tomorrow at 6 p.m. for more Albanian news in English, only here on Ora News. Thank you and good night.